Hello and welcome to the WIHS Journal, Public Affairs from 104.9. I'm Paul Kurtzmer. My guest on today's broadcast is Laura Champagne, who operates a business here in Connecticut and helps people deal with mold problems in their homes.
Yes, absolutely. So mold is actually found outside. It's a very natural occurrence, and our environment has developed a way to naturally solve that. The trees and everything have developed their own processes over millions of years to fight their own mold problem. And so when you open up your windows, you're in your doors and everything, you're inviting mold in, which is very normal. Our bodies are used to what's going on outside. And then the mold spores are the part that is toxic to us. That is the thing that aggravates your lungs, creates allergy-like symptoms, and aggravates asthma, all those sorts of things. And so it likes to live in dark, warm spaces. So if you think of things like your drywall, inside of your studs, and like the wood in your walls, that's where it likes to grow. Just like a plant, if you blow on a dandelion, plants go nuts, little white things go in the air. When those land back in the soil, they have sunlight, water, they grow. Mold likes to land on things, and it grows within your building materials. And so, but you can't see the little white things you can see with a dandelion. You can't see those with mold. But essentially, it kind of works almost like seeds from a plant.
As far as health concerns are concerned, what sorts of things can the presence of mold do to make people sick or cause them ongoing problems then?
We don't. They're actually just doing more research on it now. But those the little spores actually get into your respiratory system, and they cause inflammatory issues. Inflammatory issues can be all sorts of things. So it aggravates asthma. So kids with asthma and breathing problems will have it. It can heighten those things, and it can feel a lot like allergies. I know when I bought my new home, my daughter and I were both having allergy-like symptoms, and that's right when I got involved with the company, and we treated our house, and we don't have those problems anymore. My son, one of his best friends, was in and out of the hospital probably about once a month, and I went in and tested their home, and it was no leak house, and so I went in, and I'm like, there's that nostalgic kind of smell, when you open up somewhere like a cabin or anywhere that's kind of closed up, and it just kind of smells like, a vacation. And I'm like, you know what? Let me test your house. I treated their house, and he is almost a year ago. He's not been in the hospital since. So it can just heighten problems, but they don't know exactly what it does, and they're doing more and more research on that right now. So it's hard to say what exactly comes from mold and what are already pre-existing conditions that are accelerated by mold.
Sometimes people are the type of person, or just due to their exposure in life, that if a mold problem exists, it has to be pointed out to them by someone who knows what they're talking about, because the first person may not recognize it when they see it.
Yeah. The biggest problem with mold is that when you can see a colony on the surface, it's what we can't see that's the bigger problem. People can go through an area and say, there's no mold here. And you can test, like if there's brand new drywall put up, you can do an air quality test, and it can still be high because the levels of the spores that are in the air that you can't see keep coming out. It's what you can see is really only surface deep, and that's really the bigger problem that we're facing, is that people say, oh, well, I clean the surface, but that's not where it lives on it can live on the surface. But sometimes what's behind there is the bigger problem, and you can't always see it.
Is it a factor of moisture in the air along with the presence of spores that causes things to grow like that, or are there other factors that figure into it too?
When you have high levels of moisture, you're most likely going to have mold, because mold's found outside. We do have a level of mold that's always there. You'll never have an absolute zero reading. So when we do an air quality test, we do one control outside to see what's going on in our environment, what our bodies are used to, and then what's going on inside. Mm-hmm. So it's a very good indicator when you have moisture that could potentially have mold. The biggest problem is with warmth. So if, let's say, a hot water pipe or tank bursts, even if you have freezing cold temperatures, you're creating that steam across, and that's when it loves to grow.
Being in Middletown, as I am aware that every time it floods on the Connecticut River, the restaurant down the shorefront has to be ripped out on the lower levels. Is that because of the factors that you've described so far?
With what I've described so far, in my product is amazing. We harness the technology of nature. Sometimes building materials are compromised. My product does not, regenerate building materials. But if you dry everything out quickly, there's no need to rip anything out. It's a very quick process. We release enzymes in the fog, and the enzymes stay behind and keep working. If you had a huge flood, it would overwhelm the system, but they keep unlocking the mold. And as long as you take up the moisture, as long as you take up the water, and it doesn't damage things, you don't have to knock everything down.
In terms of maintaining things properly, then, what sorts of actions can you suggest for people to minimize, even if you can't eliminate a minimal amount of moisture in the air that would cause these darn things to keep growing like they do?
Everybody's going to have humidity, right?
Yeah.
So in some basements, it might be appropriate to have a sump pump. Some things, maybe run a dehumidifier. But the main thing with a dehumidifier, nobody wants to, it doesn't do us any justice if you don't empty it.
Yeah.
So get a good dehumidifier, have a plumber come in and plumb it in so you don't have to empty it. And then in the opposite corner, you want to run a oscillating fan. The oscillating fan is to make sure that you have a flow of air. So you're not only drying out what's right next to the dehumidifier. And you can think back to, we've all gone to the beach, and then you've gone to, the river. Where do you get more mosquitoes? What's more fresh air? You want that constant flow of air to really minimize where the spores can land, and you want everywhere to get the humidity to leave. Otherwise, it's only going to be working in the corner that you're putting it in.
So spores are a given situation. It's how we respond to them and the factors that work with them that really make the difference.
Absolutely, because some people, just like poison ivy, some people can roll poison ivy and get nothing. Some people get a little bit, and some people walk by it and they look at it and they get, everybody responds a little bit differently. So everybody's body will react differently to mold. We all have different sensitivities. But you really want to just minimize the opportunity for them to create roots, if you will. Just like the weeds in your garden or the dandelions in the backyard. You just want to minimize. You want to create a situation that you're not optimizing their potential to grow.
For a person who'd like to follow up on what you've had to say and perhaps is anticipating a problem or already has one and wants to respond to it accordingly, what contact do you provide to listeners so that they can make contact with you and follow up?
It is naturalhome.solutions, and we have a few. There's myself and a few licensees. We are everywhere. Contact any of us, and we'll be part of your team. The best thing is you want one of each profession on your team, and you want people that are going to work for you and understand how mold works. I have a biochemistry degree. I love science. I think it's cool. And I'm going to be a part of the team to help minimize your risk and minimize everything to make sure that everybody's working to protect two of your best assets, your family and your home.
Thank you very much, Laura, for speaking with me.
You're welcome. Thank you so much.
Once again, my thanks to my guest, Laura Champagne, who operates a mold removal control business here in Connecticut. For further information, call us at 860-346-1049, 860-346-1049, or office at WIHSradio.org. That's office at WIHSradio.org. Opinions expressed are those of the participants, not necessarily those of the staff or management of the station. I'm Paul Kretschmer for the WIHS Journal, Public Affairs from 104.9 WIHS.